Hi, my name is Stacy Justice, and I lead go-to-market enablement for Gong. One of the biggest challenges that I used to have as an enablement leader was launching a strategic initiative or a big enablement program and then having no visibility into adoption. It was quite frankly my worst nightmare. No visibility meant that I had no idea how programs were being adopted. I had no idea if things like messaging that we were asking the field to share was actually being communicated. I had no idea if the behaviors we were trying to influence were actually changing. And this meant that all of the work that had been put into this by my team and others was kind of a waste because I didn't have the ability to or the visibility to understand, is this being adopted? And therefore, I didn't have the ability to measure the impact. But Gong has changed all of that for me. Now I rely on initiatives boards inside of Gong to help me to track adoption of these key programs and strategic initiatives. So using something like the initiative board that's in front of me, I am able to, one, benchmark adoption of key behaviors before I launch a program. I'm able to look at and align dates and launch dates to understand how did this program impact or how is the adoption of this program going. In the board that's in front of me, I'm looking at David Black's team. He's the CRO, and I'm looking specifically at an initiative where we launched Medic. Medic's a qualification framework that's really core to how we sell here at Gong. And so I want to understand, how are the different elements of Medic being adopted? On this, I'm going to look at the last 90 days so that I can get a sense of the trends and how things are going. And looking at this board and this adoption over the last 90 days, I can see, first of all, that the discovery questions that we've enabled the field with are really being used. And that's awesome. That gives me confidence that they understand what's there and how to start to uncover the information that will influence each of the different elements of Medic. I can see that there's some moderate adoption around metrics, around economic buyer, and around the champion. And I can see all of these things are kind of labeled out here. But the big thing that kind of draws my eye in is it looks like I've got two elements within Medic that aren't really being adopted. First, paper process. So this tells me that, does the field really understand how to identify the actual steps that go into closing a deal with their buyer? And then secondly, not defining a compelling event. So how do I help the field to better understand what's driving the urgency for the buyer? And I can see over the course of this that needs some help. One of the other challenges that I used to have was I couldn't drill down to understand where are teams doing things well and where are things just falling apart. You can see within this initiatives board that I'm actually now able to even go down deeper. So I can look at this across all of David's teams here, and I can look across each element of Medic to understand how it's being adopted. I've set the parameters here so that anything above 70% is going to give me a green, because that's what I've really identified as success with this program. And anything below 40% is going to call it out red. So within this, you can kind of see I've got some really good green spots. They're pretty good on champion and metrics, kind of good over here. Obviously, we kind of saw that above on discovery. But the area that I see that I really need to focus on is around paper process. And I can see specifically here that Kate's team and Daniel's team are probably the worst of it. So how can I work to kind of help laser-like focus in here to help all of these teams improve on that? I can also go over here and see on the compelling event side exactly where that's struggling. And you can see here that every team is really struggling with it. So I can spend and take this data back, identify these trends, share it with my team, and we can build focused programs for these teams to help improve their ability and their skills around paper process, help them to better drive urgency and identify a compelling event within their buyer. Before this, I had no visibility into this, and I would have to go and build programs to kind of cover it all again. With this, I'm able to save a ton of time for my team. We can focus on these two different elements, build a program that's going to improve it, and then I have confidence that we can truly impact the overall success of this program across the board. And I couldn't do this without Gong.